Howdy neighbors, welcome to another video. Happy holidays. Welcome to episode 2 of the Advent Calendar. It's a historic event that celebrates the coming of the new year, and I want to share this with all of you and try to introduce some of you newer players into the game of Cardfight Vanguard through the premium format. So the second deck that we're going to be showing off today is a friend of mine who's been playing this deck for a while now. Robin is a close friend of mine. We've known each other for years, and he wants to showcase this deck to you guys because I know that some of you are definitely going to enjoy it. The one that we're going to be showing today is going to be Gastille, one of the harbingers of Gizeh. Gastille is one of the evil bishops of the dark states, ushering the end of destruction for Gizeh. But how does he do this? By stripping the effects of their opponent and rendering them weak and useless. So the whole idea and concept of this deck is to force guard restricts on your opponent, making it almost impossible for them to stop you while having over 20 cards in your soul and possibly using your 4 facts to send back any crit triggers back into your deck. So let's get started with a list, then go down to some of the cool little combo lines. And I know actually we want to add a new tinier segment at the end of the video, which is going to be like a mulligan, what you'll be aiming to keep into your hand and what you'll be looking to ship back into your deck. So first things first, because we are running some history strides to be able to facilitate a little bit of that extra soul that we'll need, Showerhot Vampire is one of the best strides to stay on because of its stride bonus, being able to soul charge 2 cards, clearing out your opponent's annoying rear guards if they're not playing a bracing angel ladder to protect themselves, or any resist units allows you to just be very annoying and poke away their board a little bit. And its GB2 is, you know, it's kind of novel. Pretty cute. Could be some game states where you're not striding, and having 10k bonus on your Vanguard with extra critical is also kind of nice. Then we also have the namesake of the deck, Evil God Bishop Gastille. We're running 4 copies of him, 3 copies of the V version, and then 1 copy of the G version of Gastille. So beginning of the battle phase, you draw a card and your opponent chooses one of the following effects. For every 5 cards in your soul, you perform one of the chosen effects. So it stacks up to 5, 10, 15, and 20. All of your front row gets +1 crit until the end of turn. Increase or decrease your opponent's Vanguard to 1k. Not even 1k, just 1 power. Until end of turn. I mean, obviously you can still increase your power by trigger effects, and all of your opponent's auto abilities do not activate until end of turn. One thing to asterisk to note of this, since we do have the revised and updated critical triggers from the history collection recently, your defensives won't trigger from this, but you do get the additional power because your auto abilities have been turned off. It's funny, isn't it? Cool. Then your opponents chooses a card from their hand and puts it into the damage zone face down. While playing into this deck or archetype, one thing to put in your mind is that you might want to keep your quick shield or guardian tickles, because you could then put one of those into your hand, effectively kind of negating one of those bonuses. And since you can't use them anyway for that turn, it gives you a way to be able to use them for something else, which is kind of nice. Then we have one of the scariest cards out of premium history, is Hope on Damp. When placed, if your soul has 20 or more cards in your soul, which ties in really well with Gastille, until end of turn, your opponent will call cards from their hand to Guardian Circle. They must call cards to the total of 20k shield at the same time. So the ruling interaction for this is that you can put 20k shield and then guard with whatever you want. Just make sure that you always have 20k shield flat. You need to. So it's 10, 10, creating 20. Or it could be like 15 and 5, but it does need to be increments of 20, and then you can obviously like put down a perfect guard after. Then we do have the G version of Evil God Bishop Gastille. You can use him for his additional rearguard effect now, which does allow you to choose your rearguards with a darkness ability at the beginning of your ride phase. If it has 8 or more, you could choose one of your darkness units and re-add it back to your hand. We do play some rear guards with darkness in this deck, some perfect guards as well. but you're not really aiming to do any darkness abilities with any of your grade 3s. You can re-add it if you want to, if it's on rearguard. And it also has a secondary darkness ability of GB2. Darkness is a keyword that says if you have put a card into your soul this turn, you get to use your abilities or effects that need darkness. When this card is placed on rearguard, then choose 2 your grade 2 cards from your soul, put them into drop zone, and this card gets all of the abilities of those cards. Right, then we have Cutting Sword Dance Quagra. It does have a really cool ability for as a grade 2, since we're into the grade 2s now. 7 or more and 13 or more cards in soul, they have individual effects. You have Counterblast 1, discard a card from your hand, choose a card from your soul, put it into your hand and soul charge once. You can get any of your utility pieces, any of your grade 2s or your grade 3s or PGs or whatever have you, just re-amp back to your hand to make it very awkward for your opponent to keep you off of very important resources. It's a really good card to be able to like recycle and reutilize. It's a D-era card, it's from Dark States, and for 13 or more, all of your front units get plus 5k until end of turn, which does make your Gastille turn a little bit more potent, which is nice, especially if you have the extra resources for it. Then we have Variance Hard Leg, one of the first wave of bannings that ended up happening to the V Premium format. When placed, if your soul has 3 or more cards with the same name or 3 different card names, so you need to have a total of 9 or 12 or how much ever you need to be 3 different names, and you do play enough copies to have it happen. When your opponent will call from their hand to Guardian Circle, they must call 3 or more at the same time. So you give a end of turn skill to yourself as player, which doesn't affect any of the current rear guards. The same thing for Hope on Damp. So you have multiple layers and multiple ways of guard restrict, and if you wanted to have way more restrictive guard restrict, we also have Baleful Repressor. When this unit attacks, if the number of cards in your soul is 8 or more until end of turn, this gets plus 10k, and your opponent cannot call grade 0s from their hand to Guardian Circle. So this makes it all the more awkward, and of course Gastille turns off all the auto abilities, so your opponent's just going to be G-guarding for 15k shield, but sometimes that's just all you need at that point, you know? That's one of the best ways for you to deal with it. Then, for our other grade 2s, we're playing Covetous Succubus. If your soul has 8 or more cards, this gets 10k shield. It's really, really nice. And if you have 10 or more cards, it becomes 15k shield. Also really nice. When this unit attacks, if your soul has 6 or more cards, put one of your rear guards into your soul and countercharge 1. Then if your soul has 10 or more cards, draw 2 cards and then choose a card from your hand and put it into your soul. So if you happen to draw into your assassins or extra pieces that you could use for hard leg to become active, it's entirely up to you. It allows you to sculpt your hand a little bit more. Then we have the Cycle card from the V Promo series. It is called Deep Gelidus. It has a skill of once per turn, Rearguard or Vanguard. When this attacks while boosted, Soul Blast 1, and then choose one of your units. Could be your Vanguard, could be your Rearguards. Search your deck and drop zone for 3 cards for the total of the same card name as this unit. So this really works well with Hard Leg, since it gets you all the extra copies you're possibly going to need. You do have to pay the Soul Blast, but you could pay one of the copies of the Soul Blast, pay for that, and get it back again, you know? If you have like one of the extra copies on board, a couple more in your deck, you just fish for them. It's really nice. And then if you search your deck, you shuffle your deck. Then the other skill is from hand, discard, check top 5, add for a grade 2 or less and add it to hand, which is always good. And then shuffle your deck. We're playing 4 copies of it because it's a very, very good way of being able to get all of the pieces that we're going to need. Then we have Dimensional Creeper. This has kind of been a Dark Irregular staple, and it's always going to be almost a good card, always. Then a new addition that also has kind of become a little bit of a staple every once in a while when the format permits it is Variance Killertail. Being able to choose your extra copies of any pieces that you have in your drop zone, your Damp Hood or your Variance Hard Leg or your Gastille that you're probably going to need, or any of the other pieces, copies that you're going to want into your soul. Killertail gets it, and if there's more than extra copies of her in your soul, if there's 3 or more copies, I mean, obviously, 3 copies need to be exactly. You do get the countercharge one, so you could choose one from your damage, you could choose one from your drop zone, and you could put it into your soul. Really good utility card. Then, as our one of other grade 1, we are running Succubus of Avarice, which is the Darkness Sentinel, which can get herself out of your soul, and you could use Hard Leg to put her into soul if you're PGing with her. It's just so good. You could choose one of your other grade 1s, one grade 1 or less rare cards, and retire it, and you can return this back to your hand. So you could do like retire your your Dimensional Creeper. You have this in your soul. You could use Killer Tail to put Creeper into soul, and it gives you so much insane value. It's really nice. Then we have the enigmatic assassin himself. He's currently on the restricted list 1 for very, 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 very good reason. Darkness, when it's triggered at the beginning of your battle step, if Darkness has been triggered this turn, you can Superior Call it, and it gets power equal to the amount of cards that you have in your soul. If you have 10 or more, if you call a card out of the soul, it gets +5, and if you have 15 or more, it gets +10, so it becomes a 20k attacker by itself, which is always good. Then obviously our V starter gives us our quick shield, draws us a card, draws us into more of our pieces. Then for the trigger lineup, we are running One-Eyed Succubus, the defensive crit trigger, which draws us a card, which is kind of nice, goes into soul for Charlotte, which is also good, and it pays itself off for Blade and Mouse. Then we're also running 4 copies of Ammon's Faller, Abysm Lust. We're not running the Guardian Heal triggers. It's entirely up to you if you do want to run it yourself. We're currently not running it because we do want to send our heal triggers back in some very long-winded game states. Being able to heal our damage again is very nice, because then we can get some of our pieces into the drop zone that Killer Tail can put into our soul for us, which can be pretty good. Then we do play Dark States over trigger. We'd play this instead of the blue OT or any of the other Cray Elemental over triggers at the moment, since our deck requires our opponent to be constantly under pressure, either via guarding or via eating through their hand themselves. We want to create a almost hopeless situation for them to stop us, and any stretch gives us a way for us to keep up the pressure. Then we have Bane Stinger, which is the Stridefather critical trigger. As you noticed, we don't really play much ways of being able to stride. It's not our hard-pressed game plan. Our first game plan is to be on Charlotte Vampire, maybe stride like 2 or 3 times while utilizing the Creeper and Variant's Killer Tail to soul charge through most of the pieces that we need through our whole deck, which is good. And then we do have the rest for our Sentinels. We do want to keep, again, up with pressure, so we're not running any defensive draws or draw triggers or draw trigger PGs. We're utilizing the Sentinel crits, and we'll try to loop our Succubus of Avarice, since we also do get perfect guards from Chiron's Vampire's History Stride. Then 4 copies of Monochrome of Nightmareland. A friend of mine said the highest issue with this deck is oftentimes we have so much counter charge in this deck that we don't have enough in terms of CB. But Monochrome is a very good card in this deck. Being able to restand any rear guard on our Gastille turn makes it almost impossible for our opponent to guard it. They oftentimes have to either overtrigger to survive our turn, which can be very annoying for our opponents to deal with. It has the skill of being able to put itself back into deck, soul charge and run, and if you hit the quota of soul, 6 or more, you choose a card from your damage zone, turn it face up, and if the card is 10 or more, you draw a card. So you basically refund itself. It doesn't end up being a minus at any point. It just becomes almost always a bonus. The soul charge is really, really good, but having 6 in soul is almost always a thing, since your first history stride does already put you close to 6 in soul already, especially since you're running like the starter and Dimensional Creeper, plus with all the other pieces that get you there. Then now for our Tri deck, our G zone is 1 Harmonics Messiah, which does give you the Guardian ticket, unlocks your cards into certain control matchups of Link Joker, but we sometimes don't necessarily always have a board unless we want to. So it's not going to come up often, but it's really handy to have, especially if you're going second. The Guardian ticket is just very, very good. Then we do run the Love Tempest Kiss Kill Rila, which does have the ability to soul charge 2 cards. Your Charlotte also soul charges 2 cards, and then you're riding up into your grade 2 turn, into your 3 turn, and you already have 2 to 3 cards in your soul already. So Charlotte, Kiss Kill, that's already 6 already. And if you have 6 or more, you draw a card, which is always good. Then for our other attacking strides, we do have Ultimate Deep Hadis Forfax, which does have a really cool skill in your G zone. If you have at the end of battle that your grade 3 Vanguard attacked and your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, if your soul is 13 or more, and I think if your deck is also no, it just needs your soul to be 13 or more, and if your deck has 13 or less, there we go. That's where that was. If you have 13 or more cards, you get to stride them by discarding 5, and then when it's placed on Vanguard Circle, if your deck has 13 or less cards, you could choose up to 3 critical triggers to put in from your soul back into your deck. So it gives you a way of being able to be low on deck, and this deck can have moments where it's on like 6 or 7 cards left in deck, and being able to put 3 crit triggers back is pretty insane. You don't really stride into it often. It's usually used as a finisher. Then we have as another attacking stride, we have the one who splits darkness, Blader Mouse. Since we are running the huge triggers that can go back to deck, we do have Blader Mouse that can send all of our grade 0 units that are on the rearguard circle or in our soul back into our deck. So there's oftentimes, if you can soul blast anything from your soul, you want to try focus on soul blasting your starter whenever you can, especially with the effect of Deep Gladius, because then you don't send it back into your deck and you end up having a 10k vanilla shield in your hand, which can be kind of awkward. Then its skill is darkness, so obviously you need to be soul charging before you can use a skill. You could choose a card with the same card name, so it flips itself from your G zone, turn it face up. You choose 2 cards from your hand, put them into your soul. When it attacks, if the number of your soul is 10 or more, you pay the cost. Return all grade 0 cards from your rearguards and soul into deck, shuffle your deck, choose 2 units, and they get 5k until end of turn. And then when this battle, at the end of the battle, stand this unit and it gets -2 drive, which gives you a lot of attack pressure, especially with all the crits that we're playing. It's very devastating. Then we head off into the Progenitor Dragon. So again, remember, we do have moments that we don't get to stride too often. Having a Progenitor Dragon into certain matchups that can stall us out, like Gridora, for example, can put us in a way that our Vanguard is stunned and can't be stood anymore, so we don't have access to our drive checks to dig for more cards to draw through our deck. Formido does give us a way of still being able to stride through our deck and do our plays without having to attack with our Vanguard, which is really nice. When it's placed, you can counterblast 1, then your opponent chooses the same numbers of their rearguards as your open circles and then retire them. And if they've retired, I think 3 or more, you get to soul charge 5 and then draw a card, which refunds ways of you being able to get more pieces that you'll need. Then for our other optional first strike too as well that we can go into sometimes, we have the one that hunts souls, Balam. It gives you a way of being able to soul charge on your first strike turn if you don't happen to see your Charlotte, or if it's a very awkward game state that you're not too much under pressure but you do want to flip up something in your G zone or be able to get extra drives to dig for more cards to fix any awkwardness that you're going through. It does get extra 1 extra drive, so it does end up having a quad drive, and it does gain power equal to the amount of grade, the power of that unit. The power of the unit, it adds it to itself, which is really nice. And you do get the soul charge for every face up card in your G zone, so you can sometimes have Kiss Kill and maybe went through Blade of Mouse, but then you can go into Balam, or you probably did a first turn Forbido into a Kiss Kill into a Balam, and then you're soul charging, you know, 6 to 8 cards, which is kind of insane. And then Darkness 3, which then facilitates itself. So good. If your soul is 13 or more, your opponent can call grade 1 cards from their hand, which is kind of nasty. It's a continuous ability, so it's affecting them the whole turn. Then we have our G guards. This deck uses a little bit more G guards in comparison to other archetypes. It's up to 7 in this deck, but all of them have like really insane utility. We have 2 copies of False Darkwind's Agrat Bat Malat, which gives you a soul charge of 2 and plus 5k. So even on your defensive turns, you get a little bit of soul charge going. Then we have Rebellious Storm Princess Najibriwis. When this unit is put on Guardian Circle, Color Blast 1. For every 10 cards in your soul, choose one of your opponent units and it gets -1 crit until end of turn. So you can choose a couple of rear guards that have like extra crits on them by themselves, or if you know that this might be a lethal turn and you want to keep them from taking you out, you know, turning off a crit that turn can be pretty important for you. It doesn't get any extra shield, but the extra minus crit is basically the amount you'll need. So you can guard one, reduce crit on the other. It's pretty good. Then we have Accumulated Attachment Drujinasu. Continuous, if the number of cards in your soul is 8 or more, it gets 10k shield, becomes 25k shield by itself. It's really nice. So it becomes 37 or 36 depending on the Vanguard that you're on. When this unit is placed on Guardian Circle, choose one of your grade 1 or greater cards with Darkness ability. You may put it into your soul and draw cards. Since you do have a number of cards with the Darkness ability, like Baleful Repressor, or Evil God Bishop Gastille, or the Perfect Guard of Sentinel, or even Enigmatic Assassin, because there's some game states where you've attacked with him and there's no other way to put him into soul that battle. You can use your G guard to put him into soul, which is really, really nice. And if you do, draw a card. It's good. Then choose one of your face down cards in your G zone and turn it face up. When this unit is placed on Guardian Circle, pay the cost. If you do, this unit gets plus 5k for every 5 cards in your soul. The Medical Studies of Extinction Vincent is our final G guard that we're going to be talking about. It is an amazing card to keep you off of just getting a whole bunch of shield without having to pay too much resources, and it does give you a quick soul charge as well, which does add a little bit of a bonus. So that is it for the deck profile for now. Let's head over to the combo lines and mulligan and cards you want to keep in your hand in your opener. And now for the mulligans. 2 particular cards that you want to keep in mind while you're playing this deck is going to be Dimensional Creeper and Deep Galatus. These are going to be your opening 2 cards you're going to try to aim for your mulligan. For your strides, the stride order is going to be Kiss a Kill, Balam, Blade of Mouse, and Gastille Hades. Sometimes that route can be shortened or freestyled depending on whether or not your opponent's on high enough damage for you to aim for it, or your soul charges got relatively lucky for you to be able to get that to go off. Sometimes it's going to be taking a little bit longer to get you to that finish line, but the deck does very well in defending itself, drawing into pieces. It's just good stuff. DI very good cards in DI nowadays, especially combining it with some of the Dark State pieces in Kagra. It gives it a way of being able to stay the course, and it's kind of slept on, in all honesty. And a lot of people are currently playing the NLK Barra Magnus combo, which is also pretty good, but I think this, even if it is a tiny bit gimmicky, I think it's also very potent if it's not paid attention to for the lethal turns. So with that being said, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Be sure to give it a like, be sure to give it a comment, and be sure to subscribe. Gives us a chance to keep on doing cool things like this. So be you tuned in for day number 3. It's going to be a fun one.